Also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. As always, you can connect with us with your thoughts, your views, comments, and opinions. We're live at 3FM 927 on Facebook. Also on all the issues coming up this evening here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. My name is Alfred Ocansey. We're just 37 days more to the December polls. 82% of Ghanaians say the country is headed in the wrong direction. We have details from the latest Afrobarometer survey released earlier today. In fact, some minutes ago. Stay with us here on Hot Edition. We'll give you some details of that shortly. Also this evening, the Chief Justice Getro Tukono launches manual for election adjudication. We'll tell you exactly what the details of this manual is and the reactions to this so far here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Plus, the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, CTAG, boils as group accuses national executives of being too soft in their dealings with government amid threats to resume a strike. Here on your election command center, we bring you campaign trail as well. Alan Chimanting has been speaking about the impasse between the legislature and the judiciary. We have details of that shortly, plus the MPP and the NDC and matters arising here on your election command center. We'll tell you about what is happening in the world of business and sports as well here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. But in the meantime, Enyo Nam Haliga is here with a summary of the news. Enyo?
Yeah, now to the summaries. Independent presidential candidate Alan Chimanting has dismissed the assertion that Parliament is a master of its own rule. He says this assertion has no merit in law. Mr. Chimanting indicated that Parliament is bound by Article 133, Clause 1 of the Constitution, which mandates all arms of government, including the legislature, to comply with the Supreme Court's decision. Any refusal to accept such decision, he argued, would constitute a breach of the law. Mr. Chimanting criticized the ongoing clash between the Supreme Court and Parliament, describing it as unwarranted, unjustifiable, unproductive, and unhealthy for our fledgling democracy. The progression of the suit against the Ghanaian Family Values Bill, also known as the Anti-Gay Bill, has faced another delay following the hearing of the cases on Thursday, October 31. At the last adjourned date, lawyers of the Attorney General and Speaker of Parliament were ordered to file their processes to enable the swift adjudication of the case. But when the case was called, Chief State Attorney Sylvester Adusu drew the court's attention that documents which ought to have filed by the Speaker's lawyers to enable them attach their file statement of the case had not been done, hence requesting more time. The Chief Justice, Getro Tukono, says the obligation to build systems and fundamental human rights lies on all arms of government, including the judiciary. According to her, there's an urgent need to protect the rule of law, whilst admitting that sophisticated nature of the law means nothing should be taken for granted in court works. She said the remarks during the launch of the 5th edition of the Election Adjudication Manual in Accra. The launch was also graced by members of Parliament, the Ghana Bar Association, and CSOs. The Minister of Education, Dr. Yao Educhum, has warned the abolition of the double-track system under the free senior high school policy could prevent many students from accessing senior secondary education. His concerns come in response to the opposition party NDC pledging to eliminate the system as part of its plans to improve free senior high school policy. Speaking on the state of the Ghana's education, the minister explained that the government is currently building sufficient infrastructure to gradually phase out the double-track system. The Speaker of Parliament, Alban Suman Kingswood-Babin, is expected to recall the House of the Legislature early November. This follows a crucial meeting with members of the Council of State who called on the Speaker on Wednesday. During a closed-door meeting, the Council assured the Speaker of their commitment to assisting in resolving any existing issues, facilitating Parliament's swift recall. The Council applauded the effort of the Speaker in keeping the democracy credentials of the country high, though efficient handling of the legislature. The meeting came in raging controversy over the Speaker's declaration of some 4 seats vacant. That's all for the summary.
And thank you very much. There's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, and also on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. Judith Brown is just joined me. We'll go through this together here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. First, 82% of Ghanaians believe the country is headed in the wrong direction. Latest Afrobarometer survey has revealed the figure represents 5% decrease compared to 2023, when 87% were of the view that the country was badly managed. In 2024, only 15% of Ghanaians say the country is headed in the right direction. The report released today also showed that the majority, 66% of Ghanaians, believe they are economically worse off compared to 12 months ago. On issues of priority, most Ghanaians consider unemployment and infrastructure as the most important problems they want addressed, followed by health and education. Economic management is the fifth on the list of priorities. The survey comes 37 days to the December polls. Now we're going to show you some details of it shortly as we go on here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. So go on our Facebook page at 3FM 927. We'll give you details of this latest coming through from the Afrobarometer survey, and it's coming on the back of what the Global Info Analytics have also put out earlier within the week, capturing almost the same sentiments that Ghanaians have about the state of affairs in the country and what must be done going forward. And based on the details of the Afrobarometer survey that we have a copy of today, the citizens' policy priorities, economic conditions, and government performance highlights from the survey also give details such that from the Western region, we have close to 6.8% of the respondents saying that the country is headed in the wrong direction. In the Western North region, you had close to 2.8% also saying the country is headed in the wrong direction, and that cuts across a number of regions across the country as was surveyed. And this is consistent largely with what the Global Info Analytics put out there. Musa Dankwa is joining us right now as Executive Director of Global Info Analytics. Musa, appreciate your time. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Hello.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, so we've got details of this Afrobarometer survey, which largely reflect a number of the sentiments that the sample size you also surveyed expressed with regards to the direction of the country. Based on this latest Afrobarometer survey, 95% of the respondents say the country is headed in the wrong direction. How does this strike you?
Thank you very much. It doesn't really strike me that much because it's fairly consistent with what we have been showing. And indeed, in many cases, it's even worse than what we have been projecting over the last few years.
I see. And the underlying message or in there, what would you say is it?
I think the underlying message boils down to the economy again. If you look at the report they submitted, treatment and living conditions put together gives you about 46%, and that is and that puts that economy above what they had there as unemployment. So if you do that adjustment and you add the cost of living, the economic management, you have 46%, which is in line with the way we've seen the economy and unemployment rank for the past 2 years.
I see. The economy still ranks number one, and it's actually consistent with a number of things that we've seen also captured in this Afrobarometer survey, thankfully. But Dankwa, hold on a bit for me. I have Mavis, who's a senior research analyst at the Afrobarometer, Ghana national investigator, joining us on the telephone right now. Mavis, appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening.
Now, first off, I want to find out from you, with the outcome of this survey, 95% of the respondents saying that the country is headed in the wrong direction. How does that, juxtaposing the previous round of the Afrobarometer and this outcome, what is the message in there?
Well, The message in there is that Ghanaians are still not satisfied with the way things are going in the country, and they would wish for better. If you look at it from the last round of Afrobarometer, we had about 85 saying that the country is going the wrong direction. Now it's 82, so that's just a 5% drop, which still leaves us in the 8 in 10 Ghanaians saying this. And this, when you look at it over time, is still an increase over time from the 50s to now the 80s. So you had just about, when you look at it in a 12-year span, you had just about 57 saying that the country is going in the wrong direction, and now it's 82. So that means that things are not getting better in the minds and eyes of Ghanaians. And in fact, this, if you just oppose it to some of the findings that we have on assessment of the economy, and even last year we released some data on corruption issues and trust, as well as election. It will help you understand some of these. For instance, when you look at what are the basic needs or policy priorities of Ghanaians that they want government to address, you have unemployment, you have infrastructure, you have health. These issues are not new. If you compare them to 12 years ago, these issues reoccur. We have unemployment reoccurring several times. We have unemployment occurring like this the fourth time. We have health occurring like the third time. We have infrastructure occurring so many times, about 4 times again. So that means that these are reoccurring issues. Things are not getting better. If you look at what we calculate the least poverty index, and the least poverty index is just calculated based on deprivation of basic needs, that is cash income, medical care, water, food, and cooking fuel. We ask citizens how many times they go without any of these within the past 12 months. And when you take that, if you look at over time, the number of citizens who say they have gone without cash income, healthcare, water, cooking fuel, have increased, right? Those who say they have gone without them, food, income, medical care, cooking fuel, water, those who said they have gone without them several times have increased. They have increased from 22 to 45%. So that means more and more people are going into the poverty bracket, and that is really worrying for the country. So Ghanaians saying that the country is going in the wrong direction have a lot of implications, and even their assessment of the government performance in economic areas and public services also show a downward trend in positive assessment of the government. So I would say these are some of the issues when Ghanaians think about the direction of the country and suppose against their lived experience and how things are going, then they say that the country is going in the wrong direction.
And there's something that I see in there, which you highlighted briefly, though, and the assessment of the government's economic performance, ranking between 2012 and 2024. In 2012, when you asked the same question, 46% of the respondents said that the country was being managed well, essentially. And then in 2014, it dropped to 25%. Now, in 2017, after the 2016 election, it peaked to 66%, meaning that this administration enjoyed some increased level of positive assessment of their management of the economy. 2019, it dropped to 51%. And in 2022, which was just 2 years ago, it dropped from 51% to 18%. And now is inched by 1 percentage point to 19%. That's for the management of the economy. Right, Ben, and that's consistent with the creating jobs as well.
Creation of jobs,
18%,
improving living standards,
17%,
income gaps, keeping prices stable. Yeah.
So generally, that's just a poor verdict from the respondents. You can say that
over
safely.
the years. It's not just one. It's not just one government, because if you take 12 years down the line, we have had two different governments in terms of party, right? We have had turnovers. So it looks like over time there have been more and more Ghanaians are getting dissatisfied with the government economic performance on various issues. And it's not so surprising that they keep mentioning when it comes to what is the most important problem that they want the government to address. Unemployment keeps coming up. Management of the economy came up. It's among the top 5 that citizens want government to prioritize, right? So these still keep coming up. And when you look at their assessment of government performance, it's not so surprising. Education still comes up as one of the issues that citizens want government to address. So, yes.
But it's also true to say that the lowest percentage we have seen in terms of the approval or disapproval of the government's management of the economy has been witnessed between 2022 and 2024, is it not, based on your Afrobarometer survey? Because 2022 was the lowest, 18%, and now we're having 19%.
Yes. So most of these economic indicators really dipped downward spiral between 2019 and 2022. So by 2022, we had between 1 and 2 in 10 Ghanaians saying government have done well or very well in so management of the economy. When you summarize in terms of number of 10, we have 2 in 10. When you look at creating jobs, 2 in 10. When you look at improving living standards of the poor, we have 2 in 10. Then narrowing income gaps and keeping prices low, we have 1 in 10. In 2022, saying that the government is doing well or very well in these things. So the numbers really, really came low in 2022. And the margin of increase even for 2024 are still very low, because you just have 1 or 2 percentage point increase in terms of the number of citizens who say that the government is doing well.
Mavis, I want to thank you, but hold on a bit for me, because I have Musa Dankwa as well on the other line as the Director of Global Info Analytics. Dankwa, does this picture also find some consistency in the latest national poll that you put out on the 26th, which was just some 5 days away, that was 5 days before today, that the management of the economy had a low rating from the respondents of the survey, creating of jobs. In fact, unemployment was a big deal, or is a big deal in this Afrobarometer survey. Standard of living conditions also poor based on this Afrobarometer survey, and income levels also poor. Is that reflective in the Global Info Analytics survey as well?
Yes, Ocansey. Precisely what we have found in the data in recent times. You see that the top issues for voters in our side have been economy, the jobs, education, and they have roads, which is the part of infrastructure that is mentioned. And then also, recently, if you look at people who said their living condition has deteriorated compared to the last 12 months, has gone up to what, 55%. So this is a consistent trend we have seen in the data. And we really have a big toll on the government's popularity so far.
And did they say that would influence their decision on who to vote for and how they're going to vote?
Absolutely. If you look at the recent polls, more than 55% of voters said it is the current living condition that will determine how they vote, followed by the credibility of the candidate and the party's manifesto. So this is how we have seen them arrange those priorities.
I see. And for Mavis as well, for the Afrobarometer survey outcome, they did also give, did the respondents give you the indication that this would influence their decision on where the direction of their votes will be, especially because this survey must have some relevance in an election year like this, is it not?
Right, it does. So when it comes to that, we had a specific question that asked citizens what would influence their vote, and if in terms of percentage ranking, we have character, honesty, and we have campaign promises that would influence citizens' votes. All right, those were the issues. So we asked a direct question of what would influence the vote. So 75 said the honesty of the candidate, 73 said the honesty of the candidate, 70% said character, 32% said campaign promises. And of course, random mates came. And the least things that will influence are gifts or money, ethnicity, and religious faith of the candidate. However, if you look at it closely, yes, we have had campaign promises over the year, but what has been the honesty in terms of those campaign promises or the outcomes in terms of those campaign promises? So in terms of our specific question, even where citizens talk about honesty, then for me personally, then it speaks to even the campaign promises and even that goes to performance, because if you come and tell me you would do this, if I don't trust or if I don't feel you're honest enough, it means nothing to me. So that is where the honesty and character comes in.
Mavis, I do appreciate your time on this matter, certainly, and we're going to be having a lot more conversation on this. Quite exhaustive it's been, but thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for having me. Good evening to you all and your listeners.
Good evening to you. Mr. Dankwa, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us as well.
Thank you very much.
Musa Dankwa is Executive Director of Global Info Analytics. Also, Mavis Zipok Dom is Senior Research Analyst, Afrobarometer Ghana, National Investigator with the Center for Democratic Development, CDD. If you want details of this Afrobarometer survey, which you have been referring to in various aspects of it, as we have seen, you can log on to our Facebook page at 3FM927. Also, log on to 3news.com. You'll see portions of this Afrobarometer survey as has been published, in fact, just minutes ago. So there's a poor verdict by the person surveyed about government's management of the economy. Give it 19% out of 100 score. Creating of jobs, 18 of 100. That's a fail. Improving living standards of the poor, 17 of 100. That's Judith, there's F. If there's anything beyond F, you see. Narrowing income gaps, 11%. Keeping prices stable, 8%. That's actually the lowest in there. And there you have it. Have some more on 3news.com.
Right, now let's head to the courts. The Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu says the obligation to build systems and fundamental human rights lie on all arms of government, including the judiciary. Now, according to her, there's an urgent need to protect the rule of law, whilst admitting that the sophisticated nature of the law means nothing and shouldn't be taken for granted in courts' work. She made the remarks during the launch of the 5th edition of the Election Adjudication Manual in Akrofi. Now, the manual spells out how to speed up adjudication processes for elections dispute. The launch was graced by members of Parliament, the Ghana Bar Association, and CSOS.
While the executive builds and supports the right institutional environment for the nation to thrive, and Parliament administers the legislative framework to support institutions, the judiciary is required to provide the mechanisms and structures for the securing of rights and giving access to justice. Law courts are therefore much more than their place for deciding who is right or wrong in personal conflicts. They are the ultimate forum for continually sustaining the efforts to build a thriving and prosperous republic. This duty is very profoundly stirred in the 4-year cycle and contest to decide who leads the republic in terms of governance and all its constituencies. Elections are by their very nature tense affairs involving the investment of energy, passion, and resources. The judiciary, therefore, needs to be adequately supported to focus on law, rights, and the frameworks to give access to justice, no matter the level of potential for conflict and misunderstanding that is generated by the contesting parties. In every cycle of Republican status and within this sustained Fourth Republic, the judiciary has been called on time and again to perform the solemn duty of refereeing election-related disputes. We have been asked to rule on matters of process, matters of procedure, matters of eligibility, and even the results of presidential elections.
Well, she also commented on the closure of courts in the Upper East region following the renewed conflicts in the region.
While not everyone would agree with all of our decisions, a simple review of the law reports will show that this work of the judiciary has produced distinctive and firm principles that have provided foundations and pillars for preserving the sanctity of democracy. In the last week, I have had the unpleasant duty of having to close down courts in the upper regions of our country. No one can benefit from such situations, and it is in the national interest for all and sundry to rally around the administration of law and justice and the coming elections in order to ensure the preservation of the national fabric that the Constitution has put together for us. This election manual has been done on the strength of previous manuals, bringing together all the relevant laws and regulations that will apply to the election. It also chronicles updates in case law that should guide judicial decision-making when faced with election disputes following the elections. As an administrator of justice, one of the things that never ceases to strike me is the sophisticated nature of the law. Nothing can be taken for granted in court work. Not only is procedure critical, but a failure to provide the legal threshold of evidence can be costly.
Well, meanwhile, the director of the Judicial Service Council and member of the Elections Management Committee, His Lordship Yusifu Imoro Tanko, said that the 5th edition presents special features, including invoking the appropriate jurisdiction of the various courts in the electoral disputes.
This edition is in 3 volumes. Volume 1 comprises of 11 chapters and provides the necessary guidelines to the proper procedure in invoking the jurisdiction of the appropriate courts to determining a particular electoral issue or dispute. The hierarchy of the courts under our legal system has been outlined. The chapter elaborates on the courts with jurisdiction in electoral disputes, and it sets out clearly which court has jurisdiction to deal with a particular electoral dispute. Guided by precedent, Chapter 4 has been devoted to electoral disputes that invoke the interpretative and enforcement jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. In this chapter, you will find and appreciate the proper procedure of invoking the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court relative to electoral disputes.
Well, let me take you through the details of the courts that were shut down this week. We know that the Chief Justice, Justice Gertrude Saki Tokonu, this week ordered the closure of 7 courts in the Upper East region in the wake of escalating violence in the Boku area. Now, the measure, according to the Chief Justice, was to ensure the safety of judges, staff, and court users. The affected courts are the High Court in Bolgatanga, the Circuit Court in Bolgatanga, a District Court in Bolgatanga as well, 4 district courts in Zoarungu, and then the rest are district courts in Zebila, district court in Garu, and the district court in Bongo. Let's now engage Abdullah Yakubu, who is the General Secretary of the Judicial Staff Association of Ghana, JUSAG. He joins us with more details on this. Good evening, sir. Now, how many judicial staff are we looking at that these courts are not going to work anymore, and how has the conflict impacted their work?
Good evening to you and your listeners. The closure of the 7 courts is affecting about approximately 100 staff in the 7 courts. The impact on our work is that those staff will not be able to report to work, except the security men who will be there to protect the properties at the court. Ideally, those staff should stay off work. The other regular staff will stay off work until further directed by the Chief Justice.
But if you can tell us or give us a sense of the kind of danger that you are dealing with, you staff workers in the courts, you're dealing with in the wake of this Boko conflict.
You see, we have court bailiffs who go to serve processes. We have court interpreters. If you are a court interpreter at, let's say, the villa, for instance, you might be interpreting Kusal language to the people there. We have disputes. Once the Boku court was shut down already, most of the cases are now being heard at the nearby court. So if you are a Mampuko or a Kusal, you bring your case there. It is the court interpreters who have to interpret for you. And your identity, you can easily be identified by that. Also, if you are a bailiff, you have to go and serve court processes. Assuming the bailiff is identified to be a rival, coming from a rival faction, and he goes to serve a process on persons coming from the other faction, you can imagine what can happen to such a bailiff. And also, we have staff who don't really stay at the place where the court is located, but they stay at, let's say, Bolgatanga, and they travel to Seville and other places too, for work to be done. In the process, you saw people being stopped by trucks and identified and being dealt with. We wouldn't want our staff to be subjected to the risk of the attack. Innocent groups are subjected to the risk of the attack. That's the reason why they've been asked to stay off work until further directed by the Chief Justice. But we are understanding is that the closure is a temporary measure, as and when the security intelligence analyze the situation and advise the Chief Justice appropriately, some or all the courts may be reopened. If the closure is likely to be there for a longer period, some of those staff may have to be redistributed to nearby courts. And also with the closure, if you happen to have your case in any of the courts that have been closed down, it means that the case cannot be heard. It's not going to disrupt our work, because when courts reconvene, when the court resumes work, all those cases that were not heard will not have dates. We will now have to fix a new date for them, and the parties will not have to come and ask for dates. And even with the new date, if they are not aware, they will come and miss their court date, and it may take a time before the court will resume normal operations, even when we resume.
Right. Mr. Yakubu, many are raising concerns about the fact that the closure of these courts would be denying citizens, or some citizens, the right or justice in its sense. Do you think that these concerns are legitimate?
The concerns are legitimate, but the concern about the safety of the staff are also legitimate concerns. You are supposed to administer justice without fear or favor. If you are seated at the place to administer justice where you are not assured of your safety, definitely you cannot administer proper justice. And we believe those who deserve proper and quality justice as our motto stands. So we appreciate the plight of the people. But what is happening is telling us that in this modern era, we should not see gun violence as the means to resolving conflict. It is telling us that we should allow cool heads to prevail. We should give peace a chance. Processes are ongoing to address these concerns without the use of guns. And I think that if the citizens around that area appreciate that non-violence means of resolving the conflict, the work will be resumed and they can have access to justice. But for now, I think that what is being done is a necessary thing that has to be done, though we appreciate the plight of the people.
But is it possible that you could give us a sense of probably the number of cases that are being put on hold as a result of this closure?
So each court will have a different caseload. I cannot tell offhand. But if you have 7 courts, the total number of cases pending in these 7 courts, I can tell you that it should be more than 700, getting to 1,000 cases that will not be heard at this time. Because a court will have a caseload of average 100. Some courts have even up to 300. So we should be thinking from 700 to 1,000 cases that are not going to be heard during this time. And once the cases are not being heard, it means that those who are aggrieved and don't have access to courts to adjudicate their matters are also likely to resort to other means of getting their concerns addressed, which is also dangerous. And that is why we keep emphasizing that we understand that conflict will always be there.
Right.
That is why mechanisms for resolving conflict exist in Ghana without the use of guns.
And so when you say other means, what exactly are you speaking to? When you say other means, what are you talking about?
No, of course, we have the chieftaincy. If it is about chieftaincy, we have the regional house of chiefs, national house of chiefs, who deal with these matters. If it goes through these processes, it can even come to the Supreme Court for the matter to be dealt with. Even after courts have ruled on chieftaincy matters, there are mechanisms for using committees to address this. This morning, I listened to one of the lawyers from both factions, and both of them admitted that they have appeared before for resolution of the dispute. There are processes, and they have submitted their respective proposals to be considered and consolidated for a compromise to be reached. So while these processes are ongoing, we should not allow any provocation to bring about violence and loss of life. Remember, a life lost is never regained. But as for the land, we may reclaim it. As for the properties and the chieftaincy, we can get them back, but we can never get the lives of those who have died. So our appeal to the people there is that we are all Ghanaians. We are all brothers and sisters. The Kusas and the Mamprotes are brothers. They have intermarried and produced families and children. So our appeal is that we admit there is conflict. Let's allow the peaceful process to be used to address these concerns. Let's not use the guns as the option, because that is not the way to go in this modern era.
Right, many thanks for your time. I've been speaking with Abdullah Yakubu. He is the General Secretary of the Judicial Service Staff Association of Ghana, JUSAG. But there's more, Alfred.
Yes, indeed. Also live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond on your election command center. Presidential candidate and leader of the Movement for Change, Alan Kojo Chamantin, has criticized the clash between the Supreme Court and the Speaker of Parliament, describing it as unwarranted, unjustifiable, unproductive and unhealthy for Ghana's fledgling democracy. Addressing a news conference in Accra, the former trade minister and leader of the Movement for Change emphasized the need for both institutions to operate within constitutional limits and to respect the laws governing the nation. According to him, the Supreme Court's recent ruling on a suit challenging the Speaker's stance on the status of some 4 members of Parliament was unconstitutional and represents an overkill. He argued that while the Supreme Court holds authority to interpret the Constitution, that mandate must not be exercised capriciously, especially in contexts sensitive to national stability. It's Alan Chamantin speaking earlier.
Only be made, and I want to emphasize this order, however, can only be made by the Speaker of Parliament if and only if the Supreme Court makes a ruling in favor of Parliament in the determination of the substantive case currently before it. Ladies and gentlemen, with barely 4 weeks to the general elections, it is absolutely critical that all parties, that is the judiciary, the legislature, the executive, and indeed the citizenry of Ghana, work towards a resolution of this delicate matter to ensure a peaceful path towards the 2024 general elections in December. I thank you for your kind attention.
This is notwithstanding, Alan Chamanting says Parliament is bound by Article 133(1) of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. He has also commended Parliament for seeking a judicial review of the earlier order.
About whether or not the court is interfering in the work of Parliament. Now, the case in respect of Parliament. By the dictates of the rule of law and Article 133, subsection 1 of the Constitution of Ghana, any decision by the Supreme Court can only be reviewed and varied by the Supreme Court itself. In this regard, individuals, judicial and non-judicial bodies, including independent constitutional bodies, and the various arms of government are all bound unconditionally by the decisions of the Supreme Court. In case where any party in the categories referred to above is aggrieved by the decisions of the Supreme Court, the only recourse available to such a party is to apply to the Supreme Court for a review of its decisions. In light of the above, Parliament will be in breach of the law if it refuses to accept the ruling of the Supreme Court. Even if Parliament is of the view that the decision of the Supreme Court is wrong, it must comply first with the orders of the court and adopt a judicial path to the resolution of the matter. Against this background, Parliament took the right step, albeit belatedly, in filing an application for the review of the Supreme Court's decision. However, it is my considered and respectful opinion that the course of action and the associated remedies endorsed on the writ of application of Parliament is unmeritorious and lacks judicial grounding. By arguing that the decision of the Supreme Court cannot affect a non-judicial order of Parliament is a subversion of the rule of law and abuse of judicial process. For the avoidance of doubt, all individuals, legal personalities, judicial and non-judicial bodies, independent constitutional bodies, and the various arms of government are bound stricto sensu by the decisions of the Supreme Court. As indicated earlier, any aggrieved individuals or bodies as referred to above can only apply to the same Supreme Court for a review of its decisions. The claim by Parliament that it is a master of its own rules has no merit in law and seeks to undermine the very spirit underpinning the concept of checks and balances between the various arms of government. In light of all of the above, the Speaker...
As Alan Chamanting, a leader of the Movement for Change there.
Well, let's do some more stories. The concerned grassroots of the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, CTAG, is on a collision course with its leadership over government's failure to pay migration allowances for teachers. Now, the grassroots members are threatening to embark on a nationwide strike over government's failure to implement the National Labour Commission's arbitral awards. Now, CTAG in August called off its 2-month-old strike, but the group says government has reneged on the Memorandum of Understanding agreed upon, leading to the calling off of that strike. Now, spokesperson for the concerned grassroots group of CTAG, Dr. Isabella Abdullahi, speaking to 3FM, said the leadership of CTAG is slow in acting on their concerns.
I think we have to go on this strike because the government has failed to adhere to the MOA that we signed on the 19th of August. If you remember, we actually went on the longest strike in the issue of the union. We went about 79 days strike. And the government actually assured us that we should go back, and by the end of October, they are going to actually implement the migration. As we speak, salaries have been paid, and nobody has received any migration salary. We actually called off the strike also because the office of the vice president actually intervened, because earlier on we rejected the first MOA, which was signed between the Ministry of Education and our union. But when the vice president came in and intervened and put his integrity online, we thought that we have to give that office respect. So we decided to give them the benefit of the doubt and see what they can do. But my sister, as you are speaking, nothing has happened. And if you know, we just actually didn't call off the strike. We just actually postponed it. And now that they have not paid, I think it's time for us to actually go back to the strike. In fact, national leadership has been adamant. They have been dormant. They are not actually working in the interest of the union because their time has elapsed, and because of that, they are not showing interest in fighting for the association. We saw the signs earlier and told them to take action because we are seeing that the government will not actually implement the arbitration. But they were adamant, they were slow, they said they have their own ways of doing things, and as we speak now, whatever they wanted to do has not materialized. And what the grassroots people told them, that they should be aware that the government is not going to implement the arbitral award, has come to pass. So now we actually don't know what they are doing, so we are taking our destiny in our own hands. Because in the union, we are suffering, we are the people who are suffering that economic disparity that is happening to us. So we are taking the mantle in our hands and we want to fight our own fight.
Well, you heard Dr. Issa Bala Abdullah speaking to 3FM. He is a spokesperson for the concerned grassroots group of CTAG, and he says that CTAG is slow in acting on their concerns, and so they're going to go on with their strike. Alfred.
Well, we'll see how the coming days will look like on this matter, Judith. But despite a significant effort made in Ghana's response to HIV and STIs management in the country, stakeholders at a research dialogue believe there is the need to scale up evidence-based interventions, increase funding for research, and strengthen community-led activities and initiatives. My colleague Sarah Apenkro will give you details of this particular intervention and the conversation right after the business news here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're also live on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. Stay with us. We're back with the business news. The most comprehensive election coverage.
Top-notch presenters and well-versed analysts.
Dedicated reporters and correspondents in every nook and cranny across the country.
All the action, every incident reported. All the big stories covered.
All facts cross-checked. Every figure verified.
Every vote monitored and accounted for.
The numbers tallied, analyzed, and interpreted.
We have invested time and energy in order to bring you a comprehensive elections coverage.
The whole world will be watching us on TV, online, and radio.
Election Command Center. Facts, analysis, results.
good evening. It's time now for the business segment on Hot Edition. Coming up tonight, analysts call for restructuring of Energy Sector Levy Act to boost revenue and address sector's growing debt. My name is Minu. I will bring you details of this and more. Please stay tuned. Now let's get on to the details. With challenges mounting in Ghana's energy sector, analyst Benjamin Sia is calling for a restructuring of the Energy Sector Levy Act, ESLA PLC, to boost revenue and address the sector's growing debt. This comes amid significant disruptions in power generation as the government has repeatedly failed to meet its financial commitments to independent power producers. My colleague Michael Obudu has the details.
On October 16th, Sonona Sogli Power announced the closure of its plant, citing unpaid debts by the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, totaling $259 million as of September 2024. This triggered widespread power outages across various regions of Ghana. The energy crisis intensified when ENI reduced its gas supply to the country by 30%, citing unpaid debts exceeding $200 million.
As a country, we've not done well in managing and collecting revenues, especially by the distribution companies or the discos. They collect less than 50% of what is due to pay these sector service providers. And because they are collecting less than 50% to pay these sector service providers, at any point in time, it leaves a loophole or a big hole for the government to settle in.
ESLA PLC was initially established as a public limited liability company to issue long-term bonds aimed at resolving energy sector debts owed to banks and trade creditors. However, industry insiders argue that it has not met expectations in alleviating the debt burden.
We need to critically re-examine the whole ESLA PLC approach and think whether it is helping to settle energy sector debt or it's not doing. If it's not helping to settle energy sector debt, I think that we need a better approach that helps to settle this debt.
For the Volta River Authority staff groups, this crisis underscores the need to protect Ghana's energy sector from excessive private sector control. The union is also pressing for a review of government plans to consolidate several public power agencies, a move they say could weaken state influence over the sector.
You give majority of this energy station, in the day you default in meeting their payment obligations, they will then tell you that they are shutting down. Any speak, Sonoma Assembly has shut down because ECG is owing them over $250 million. What this is doing is that it's impacting small, medium, and heavy industries. And who is suffering? If this still continue for a time, the businessmen will only shut down and say, look, I can't do business again. I will lay people off. And all this will revert back to the government.
Michael Obudu, 3 Business, Accra.
In more stories, HR consultant and corporate trainer Emmeline Date is urging organizations to prioritize employee needs and empower them to serve customers effectively. She emphasized that a happy worker leads to a happy customer, highlighting the importance of proper training and employee care. She spoke to 3 Business on the sidelines of the 2024 Junction Mall Annual Staff Training Program, which aims to enhance skills in customer interaction and create lasting experiences for patrons.
Customer service is actually the nerve, the nerve center of any organization. People translate into revenue. And if you're unable to satisfy the needs of your customers, if you're unable to make them excited, they will not come back. A business is set because you and I have a need. So what will make us keep going back to that business is exactly the reason why customer service is very important for every business. The most important customers are the internal customers, which is the employees. We encourage business owners to take care of their internal staff because a happy employee is a happy customer. You don't expect an employee who is in a bad frame of mind, having a bad day, not focused on the job to give excellent service. You need to train them, you need to show you care for your employees, and then they will, at the end of the day, translate the same thing back to your employees. When your employees feel that they are the next big thing in your organization, customers will always keep coming back for more.
HR consultant and corporate trainer Emmeline Date there, highlighting the impact of employee satisfaction on customer service. Away from that, Country Director of MasterCard Foundation, Rika Ringamba, is encouraging Ghanaian youth to seize the numerous opportunities within the agricultural value chain. Speaking at an exhibition organized by Agri Impact and the MasterCard Foundation to showcase the success of the 100 billion cedis Ghana Cares Obatampa Media Program in Kusunya, Shai Osoduku districts, she emphasized the importance of participation, especially among women and people with disabilities.
What we've seen today is, really young people, many of them who also sometimes were not even confident that they could, do anything because maybe they didn't go to school or even when they did for a long time, they were out of work. But today, seeing how much they've been able to do, some of them almost owning, some of the land, at least working on the land and being able to sell and making good, amount of money from what we've heard from them. I think it's really calling to a lot of young people. Agriculture is very beneficial. One can make money, and agriculture is also, it's not just the planting and the production, but there's a whole value chain. So really encouraging people to look at it from a value chain perspective.
Country Director of MasterCard Foundation, Rika Rigamba there. That will be all for Business News on Hot Edition. For more business stories, please check out our website. It's www.3news.com. My name is Minu Afo. Stay tuned. Sports News is up next.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the sports segment here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Oreku Ampofo. We do start off from the Black Satellites where former Ghana international Agyemang has urged the under-20 team to aim for ultimate when it comes to the under-20 Africa Cup of Nations and then potentially the World Cup. Now this comes after the team finished as runners-up at the just ended Wafu Zone B Championships in Togo, where Desmond Ofe's team lost by 2-1 in the final against Nigeria. The result, though, beyond just the defeat, also means that they would still have the opportunity of playing at the under-20 AFCON, and Agyemang believes that the team should be aiming for the ultimate.
I was well impressed. I watched all the games against Togo, against Niger, and against Nigeria as well. They've been playing well. They will go down and fight back and come and win games. I know they're small as well. Very good coach, well intelligent. We qualified for the AFCON. We wanted to win the cup, but the World Cup, however, we couldn't. Finals is not that bad. We qualified. Let's keep supporting them to build a team that can win the AFCON. I wanted them to set the record we set in our time when we won the WAFU, the AFCON, and the World Cup. However, they have lost one, or it's not lost. We will prepare very well for the AFCON so that we can qualify for the World Cup. But with Maxwell, with 1 or 2 inclusion in the team, I think we will go far with the 20. They did a great job. Congratulations to them.
So that was Emmanuel Agyemang, who was actually part of the team that won the AFCON and then the eventual Under-20 World Cup all the way back 15 years ago. Hopefully this team can replicate that glory in the coming month. But let's do some more where there's an update coming from the camp of Leicester City as head coach Steve Cooper says that Abdul Fattah Issahaku remains a doubt for this weekend's Premier League game against Ipswich Town. Now he confirmed that the striker, the forward, is unavailable for the game against Manchester United, which saw his team battered by 5-2 in the Carabao Cup, and says that they're still waiting for more scan results to see when the winger would potentially return to the team. But let's do some more stories and still focus on the injury issues all across the Premier League, because Manchester City could be without Rodri, Kevin De Bruyne, Oscar Bob, Kyle Walker, Manoa Akanji, Savinho, Jeremy Doku, Jack Grealish and Josko Guardiola for this weekend's action against Bournemouth. Pep Guardiola says that this is the biggest injury crisis that he's had since he joined the Citizens.
13 players, so we are in real difficulty, but we had to make the effort the last week because the guys who played finished, most of them with problems. So we'll see how his recovery, but I think when we are in trouble, like we are, because in 9 years never had in the situation that many injuries for many reasons, and never had the feeling when in these situations the players, they make a step forward, they are more together than ever, and we will try to do this week in this short time for recovery.
So that was Pep Guardiola on the injury updates. His Manchester City side will face Bournemouth on Saturday in the English Premier League. But just by the way, that was after his team had also lost the Carabao Cup match against Tottenham Hotspur. And with regards to the draw, the quarterfinals would be Tottenham against Manchester United, Arsenal versus Crystal Palace, Newcastle United host Brentford, and then Southampton would be at home against Liverpool. That's how we'll be wrapping up the sports here on Hot Edition. You can get some more updates on our social media handles at 3SportsGH and also on our website 3news.com/sports. My name is Oreku Ampofo, and Hot Edition continues right after this.
The most comprehensive election coverage.
Top-notch presenters and well-versed analysts.
Dedicated reporters and correspondents in every nook and cranny across the country.
All the action, every incident reported. All the big stories covered.
All facts cross-checked. Every figure verified.
Every vote monitored and accounted for.
The numbers tallied, analyzed, and interpreted.
We have invested time and energy in order to bring you a comprehensive elections coverage.
The whole world will be watching us on TV, online, and radio.
Election Command Center. Facts, analysis, results.
Imagine a place where voices matter, where every corner, every street, every community is a platform.
A big bus moving through Accra, carrying conversations, questions, and the pulse of the nation. This is not just another show, it's your voice on the move.
Join us as 3FM Sunrise hits the road, turning ordinary streets into platforms for extraordinary dialogue. Speak freely, listen deeply, and help shape the conversation that drives Ghana forward.
Look out for the bus and tune in exclusively on 3FM 92.7, your urban lifestyle radio.
It's 37 days to election 2024. Your vote is your right. Take advantage of your right.
This is 3FM 92.7, your election command center.
I wake up early every weekday because of you, to keep you on top of your game. Yeah!
You are at the center of our universe. That's why we make it a duty to serve you only the freshest, hottest news and entertainment. When you want it, where you want it.
Good morning, Ghana, Africa, and the rest of the wonderful world. Welcome to Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Start your day well informed. Start with us on Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Catch the all-new Sunrise Morning Show on 3FM 92.7 with me, Johnny Hughes, Helen Obiambofo. Weekdays from 5:55 a.m. to 10 a.m. only on 3FM 92.7.
3FM, your urban lifestyle radio.
3FM 92.7.
3FM 92.7. Urban Lifestyle Radio Station.
Welcome back. You're still listening to Hot Edition right here on 3FM 92.7. You know, we're live from our series here at Adisa Wikanda in Accra and our numerous affiliates across the country. Let's do some health-related stories. And despite a significant effort made in Ghana, Ghana's response to HIV and STIs management in the country, stakeholders at a research dialogue believe there's the need to scale up evidence-based interventions, increase funding for research, and strengthen community-led initiatives. My colleague Sarah Apenkro reports.
Last year, Ghana celebrated 20 years since the introduction of antiretroviral therapy in the country, highlighting an increase in life expectancy for persons living with HIV, while mother-to-child transmission rates have decreased. However, despite these significant achievements, there are concerns that some individuals living with the virus are not consistently adhering to their ART, and others are yet to begin treatment. These concerns underscore the critical need for sustained efforts to advance research, expand preventive measures, and reawaken awareness. The Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kuma Abuaji, at a national research dialogue focused on assessing progress made in the country's response, emphasized the need to prioritize prevention as a cornerstone of the country's strategies.
The only way we can energize ourselves into using very good preventive measures is to ensure to continue discussing the threats, and also the ways that we can actually prevent and reduce the infection. And so that's why we believe that one of the key strategies is for education. We also believe that community mobilization, all sectors are important in playing their role.
He noted that plans are underway to establish 2 new research centers.
We have 3 main research centers. Nabongo taking care of the northern belt, Kintampo Middle Belt, and Dodowa, the southern belt. But of course, it's not a homogeneous society, and so we need to learn all societies. And that's why, as part of our program, we have expanded one to Western North, also deal with their own peculiarities, Savannah, and we have planned to establish additional research centers that will allow us to be able to get more information, also more community-specific information to improve health outcomes.
The program manager for the National AIDS and STI Control Program, Dr. Stephen Eyisi Ado, expressed concern that stigma and discrimination continue to persist against individuals living with the disease.
Let's support people who are positive. Let's support people who are on treatment. Let's not discriminate. It has become like a chronic condition now. with treatment like hypertension or diabetes. So if people have hypertension, they can take their medications. Why must you look down on somebody who has HIV, which is no more a death sentence? And we are working very hard to even find permanent solutions, to it.
According to the Ghana AIDS Commission, Ghana recorded over 17,000 new HIV infections in 2023. The 2023 national and sub-national HIV and AIDS estimates and projections indicated that a total of 334,095 people were living with HIV/AIDS in the country.
Let's do some more stories. President of the Advertising Association of Ghana, Andrew Aka, is urging the general public to set another example of being a peaceful country in the upcoming presidential and parliamentary elections. As part of efforts to champion peace before, during and after the elections, the association has put in place several measures to educate and promote the message of peace through the medium.
Ghana has been praised for its unwavering commitment to democracy, peace and unity in Africa. However, we must not take peaceful elections for granted. They require intentional effort, mutual respect, and a dedication to a fair process. It is crucial that as the lead group of advertising in Ghana, we work together in promoting peaceful discussions and responsible behavior during this election. As the political season heats up and political emotions have begun rising across the country among followers of top political parties, the AAG, as the lead organization for advertisement in Ghana, has decided to launch a peaceful election project which we call Speak Peace, to help inject some level of calmness across the country and to create public consciousness about the need to speak peace to one another, because there's only one Ghana for all of us. As part of the peaceful election process, the association has designed catchy adverts for media, which includes print and billboards, and also videos for television and digital platforms, and also for radio to be published nationwide. The AAG is working closely with key stakeholders like the Peace Council, civil society and organizations, media partners and community leaders to amplify the message of peace through our privileged media platforms across the country. We believe that through our collaboration with the media and the listed organizations we have just mentioned, we will touch every corner of Ghana and inspire positive behavior, positive speech, and positive conversations that will make the 2024 election a success.
You heard the president of the Advertising Association of Ghana, Andrew Aka. Up next, campaign trail.
Election day, December 7. Wherever in your election command center, the NPP flag bearer, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has called on the people of Sankore in the Sonafo South constituency not to vote skirt and blouse in this year's election. Addressing stakeholders at Sankore, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia assured the people of Sankore of appointing the NPP member of parliament for the area into his government when they vote for him and he wins power. This is what he said here on the Your Election Command Center.
Faith, maybe Sankore the person may share the boss, maybe Frank Abusi Kuba, maybe if you are from Sankore, the Shema by Amamo. Maybe if you are from Sankore, the Shema by Amamo. Into Mamma Pada. Wonto Abano, Yen United number 1, Frank Abusi Poku. PC, Wonto Abano, and Maninamonto, Abano, and Dr. Bawumia. Yen number 1, Number one.
Meanwhile, the governing New Patriotic Party says it is targeting over 300,000 votes in the Volta region ahead of the December 7 general elections. In fact, they give the range between 300 to 500,000 votes. The party's Director of Communications, Richard Agyemang, at a press conference in Ho, said the NPP in the last 8 years has brought some development in the Volta region, accounting for a steady growth of the Volta region's development status.
Since 1992, the NDC and the NPP have contested for the votes of the good people of the Volta region, and the NDC has consistently won the lion's share of the votes in the Volta region. This consistent electoral support for the NDC in the Volta region has earned the region the designation, the World Bank, or the stronghold of the NDC. And as you know, the same is true for the New Patriotic Party, whose World Bank or stronghold is the Ashanti region. Notwithstanding the loyal support of the Volta region for the NDC, the party has not treated the Volta region as a political party should treat its stronghold in terms of meeting the development aspirations of the people. The Volta region has not seen expected investment to create jobs and improve the regional economy, health infrastructure, education, trade, opportunities under all NDC governments in this Fourth Republic. The NDC has taken the support of the Volta region for granted. The NDC's hypnosis of voters in the Volta region has brought nothing to the region. It is time to abandon this unproductive electoral partnership with the NDC because the region has not benefited from such. We in the New Patriotic Party are grateful to the Volta region for its steady embrace of our party. We expect to obtain threefolds to fivefolds the votes received in the 2020 presidential election. That is between 300,000 and 500,000 in the 2024 presidential elections. This will help break the NDC's unproductive and abusive stronghold on the Volta region and turn it into a battleground where the MPP and the NDC compete for votes based on programs and policies to uplift the people.
Well, that's Richard Agyemang, but let's have a conversation on the aspirations and expectations, the hopes of the NPP in the Volta region now. James Gono is the Secretary of the NDC in the Volta region. So, Gono, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Campaign Trail.
Yeah, good evening, and thank you very much for having me.
You heard the MPP there. They are targeting between 300 and 500,000 votes in the Volta region, the stronghold, the World Bank of the NDC, because they say the relationship between you and the Volta region has been unproductive by their own analysis. Zaguno?
Thank you very much. Let me say good evening to your audience and say that in actual fact, Richard Agyemang and the MPP are still dreaming. This is because the Volta region, as we see it, only see significant development anytime the NDC is in power. That is what has brought the home market, the University of Health and Allied Sciences, the whole airport, the route from Kweve to Pando, the route from Abo to Hatogodo, the route from Akachi to Ziofi. That has brought the E-block to Avenopeme and many other infrastructure development in the region. So the good people of the region are now aware that it is only the NDC that can bring development to them. And all our manifesto promises can be delivered, and they are not lies as compared to the MPP. They also know that anytime NDC is in power and we prepare national budget, we have never taken out the voter region from the national budget.
Has there ever been a national budget that the voter region has been taken out?
Yes.
Which
the
year?
Year of rules, when the government took very important rules in every region to construct voter region. The MPP government failed to select any route from the region for construction. Under the Year of Road Part 1, the Year of Road Part 2, no road has been constructed in the region. Even the whole Sokode road that we started, as we speak, the project has not been completed by the MPP government. We started the road from Avedakpa to Akachi. We started the road from Akachi.
If you're saying that, I'm coming. So if you're saying that with the Year of Roads 1 and 2, that is from 2022 to 2023 and 2023 to 2024, all those budgetary periods, there was no road that was captured under the Year of Roads projects.
You see, what happened was that when our members of parliament...
Are you standing by that claim, or you are amending your position?
I'm standing by that claim.
So the
MPP government left out the road. They did not capture any road under the emergency road project that they selected in 2020. In 2019.
Okay, how about
they have not?
What would you say to the whole? I'm coming, Mr. Guno. The whole Sokode road that was asphalted, was it?
The whole Sokode road was started under the NDC government. We awarded that contract. We started it before the MPP came to power. That road has been in existence. It has been in the hands of contractors. What I'm saying is that when our members of parliament, drew the attention of the government, and they now realize that, yes, they have to select some roads under this project. They chose Ho to Toko, and then from Sokode through Akrofi to Peve Road, and captured it, in the subsequent year. But as we speak, that road has never been given to any contractor. The roads have deteriorated than it used to be.
I see.
Then let me also indicate that now the people of voter region have realized that the MPP is the reason for the underdevelopment in the region.
So on the bit of Mr. Guno, on the bit of roads, let's just clarify this. So I just want you to also put this matter in perspective, because I recall sometime last year, I put to question Mauto Agbavito. I remember I had a conversation with him when government came out to make the claim that so far about 140 kilometers of roads had been reshaped to the cost of about 43 million Ghana cedis. Now, they talk about the areas within some Central Tongue, North Tongue, and other areas. You say that there's no evidence of this on the ground.
When they are talking about reshaping of roads, these are feeder roads that they have not asphalted. We are talking about asphalt roads. Even though they promise that when they come to power, they are going to construct concrete roads. Even I just passed through the motorway that was constructed by Osagifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, our Kwame Nkrumah, since 1965, with concrete. They came and promised that they will build concrete roads. this concrete road that was constructed by our Sajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah developed potholes. They could not even get concrete to patch the concrete roads motorway. But
Mr. Gono,
they use
about the
now,
in Volta
coming
region.
back to Volta region, if Richard Ahyagba is saying that they are going to increase their vote margin to 300, between 300 and 500, I'm saying that will not happen with the current dynamics in the region. Right. This is because, one, people like Richard Ahyagba, who voted in 2020 election when he was not a registered voter, will not be allowed to vote again.
Right.
Two, the MPP itself in the region do not see Alhaji Bawumia as credible enough to lead their party to become a president. That is why during their primaries, they never voted for Alhaji Bawumia to be their flag bearer.
Well, the outcome is that he's now become their flag bearer going into this election. So I'm going to appreciate your time on this matter, and we'll have to round it up here. Is the regional secretary of the NDC in the Volta region, James Gono, there here on your election command center campaign trail.
Still on your election command center, the flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress is promising a government that is religiously tolerant of all faith-based groups. Government has come under criticism of the Hajj fares that has seen many Muslims struggle to pay for their pilgrimage. Now listen to John Dramani Mahama speaking at the Palace of the Kumbungu Na in the northern region of Ghana today.
NDC makes sure that we prevent discrimination against our people. And that is why in our manifesto we've said that we'll prevent religious discrimination. And we have the track record for it. When I was president, they were asking some students and nurses not to wear their hijab to work. And I said, no, that is against the Constitution.
Apology for that technical hitch there, but yes, you had John Dramani Mahama speaking.
NDC makes sure that we prevent discrimination against our people. When NDC was in government, you needed only 11,900 cedis to perform the Hajj. 11,900 cedis. That's 110 Ghana, 110 million Ghana cedis. 190 million cedis, all cedis to perform the Hajj. Today you need 750 million cedis to go to Hajj. So the money they are charging today, if you had put it in the time NDC was there, you would have sent your father, your mother, your wife, your sister, your brother, your grandfather, your grandmother. You would have sent all of them to Hajj with 750 million. And so, NDC, it is in our manifesto. We say when we come, we are going to reduce the Hajj fare drastically so that every Muslim who wants to perform the Hajj will be able to perform the Hajj.
You had John Dramani Mahama speaking at the Palace of Kumbungu Na in the northern region of Ghana today. Essentially, he is promising a government that is religiously tolerant of all faith-based groups. This has happened after government came under heavy criticism over the Hajj fares that has seen many Muslims struggle to pay for their pilgrimage. And of course, that brings us to the end of Hot Edition right here on 3FM 92.7. My name is Judith Brown. I've been doing this with...
My name is Alfred Ocansey, and join me at 10 p.m. today on TV3 for Ghana Tonight. An interesting conversation for you. It's also going to be live on 3FM 92.7. Those will be driving at the time at 10 p.m. Have a great evening. The drive continues.